Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a story that is just massive. I mean, it's one of the most ambitious and influential works in all of Western literature, a true epic about the origin of evil itself.
So think about it for a second. What is the most epic story of a fall from grace? Now, there are a lot of contenders out there, for sure, but you would be really hard-pressed to find one more ambitious, more influential, or just more psychologically complex than John Milton's 17th century masterpiece, Paradise Lost.
And you gotta understand, this isn't just a poem. It's Milton's colossal attempt to create the origin story for, well, basically everything. We're talking humanity, sin, redemption, and the very nature of good and evil itself.
And he lays out his mission statement right there in the opening lines. He's not messing around. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree. You see, Milton isn't just retelling a Bible story here. He wants to, in his own words, justify the ways of God to men. That is an incredibly bold, ambitious project to take on.
Okay, but here's the thing. Milton doesn't start in the Garden of Eden. He doesn't start in heaven. No, he throws us right into the deep end. We open on the story's incredibly complex and charismatic protagonist, Satan, and it's just moments after he's been hurled out of heaven. He's waking up in hell.
And Milton's description of hell, this new reality, is just built on these brilliant, awful contrasts. I mean, think about it. Satan has just been booted from the happy realms of light. And what does he get? A dungeon horrible. The whole place is filled with these incredible paradoxes. Like, there's no light, but there is darkness visible. Just enough light to see how truly terrible everything is. It's a place where, as Milton says, hope itself can never, ever enter.
And it's right here, in this pit of total despair, that Satan makes his first incredibly powerful act of psychological rebellion. He declares the mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell a hell of heaven. I mean, what's he saying here? He's basically arguing that his internal state, his unconquerable will, is the only thing that actually matters. He's saying, you can't defeat me if my mind remains free.
This philosophy really becomes his core identity. For Satan, freedom is everything. It's the ultimate prize. He would rather be a king in the most horrible place imaginable than a servant in paradise. And this all boils down to that iconic, unforgettable line, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven.
So, what does this brand new king of hell do now? First order of business, he rallies his fallen legions and convenes a council. You should really think of it as the most high-stakes, demonic strategy session ever held. So, 4 key speakers step up to make their case. First, you've got Moloch, the warrior, who's all fired up and screaming for open war. His logic is pretty simple. What else have we got to lose? We're already here. Then you get the smooth-talking Belial, who argues for just taking it easy, ignoble ease. Basically, why risk even worse punishment? Let's just get used to the place. Mammon's idea is to build an empire, use hell's resources to create a kingdom that can rival heaven. But then, Beelzebub steps up. And he's secretly voicing Satan's own brilliant, insidious idea. Forget open war. Let's target God's new, precious creation, mankind, and corrupt him.
And the council, they erupt in applause. They love it. This is the plan. And so the question becomes, who's going to volunteer for this incredibly dangerous solo mission into the great unknown? Well, Satan, of course. He steps forward, and this just cements his image as this heroic leader, the one who's willing to risk it all for his followers. And believe me, it is a perilous journey. First, he makes his way to the gates of hell itself, and there he confronts these 2 terrifying figures, sin and death. And then comes this horrifying twist. He learns that they are his own offspring, born from his original act of rebellion. It's his daughter, Sin, who unlocks the gates for him, and he journeys out into this vast, formless, totally uncreated abyss, the realm of chaos.
But just as Satan is struggling through all that darkness, Milton pulls off this masterful narrative trick. He completely shifts our perspective and takes us from the depths of hell all the way up to the throne of heaven itself. So, is God surprised by any of this? Not in the slightest. He sees everything Satan is doing. But the crucial thing to understand is that he isn't just reacting. He has a divine counterplan that was already in motion, and it all hinges on two core principles: free will and redemption. This is really the theological heart of the entire poem. God explains his reasoning, saying, "I made him just and right, sufficient to have stood, though free to fall." So what does that mean? It means humanity and the angels, they weren't created as puppets. Their love and their obedience are only genuine, only meaningful, because they have the actual freedom to choose otherwise. Without the real possibility of falling, there's no actual virtue in standing firm.
So, the divine strategy unfolds in 4 basic steps. First, God foresees that man is going to be deceived and is going to fall. He knows it's coming. Second, justice demands a price for that disobedience, and the penalty is death. Third, a hero steps forward. The Son of God volunteers to become mortal and die in humanity's place. And fourth, this one act of selfless love is designed to ultimately defeat all of hell's hate. It's a plan for mercy to triumph.
And so while heaven's plan for redemption is being laid out, our antagonist finally completes his epic journey through chaos. Satan has arrived in paradise. The stage is now perfectly set for the final, tragic temptation.
So he's managed to infiltrate this perfect world, this garden of pure innocence. And to avoid being detected, he's taken on the form of the most cunning creature in the garden, a serpent.
And right as he prepares to make his move, Satan has this moment of just awful clarity. He fully, completely commits to his new path, inverting all morality with 5 of the most chilling words in literature. Evil be thou my good. At this point, there is no turning back. Destruction is now his only purpose.
So the board is set. You've got an innocent, unsuspecting humanity on one side, and you have a vengeful, brilliant, and utterly committed serpent on the other. All in the same perfect garden. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? That, of course, is a story for another time.